Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone is doing well. I need to change that intro, actually, because hope you're doing better than the other day. But yeah, as you can see, joined alongside three absolute legends in, of course, Thomas Frank's AI son. And yes, that is his name, Frank Thomas. It is Frank. Frank, how you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm sort of slowly coping my way through the transfer window, as I'm sure everyone else is. No, I'm feeling better than I was probably 48 hours ago.
Good to hear, mate. Glad you're recovering. And as you can also see, back alongside Spurs Undercover, aka Sam, bit of a regular guest on the channel. Sam, how you doing, mate? You not too phased about the Eze thing, are you?
Yeah, I mean, we can go into it more in a moment. I just feel like every couple seasons we have something like this, whether it's transfer related or some sort of heartbreak. That every little one hurts a little bit less and less to a point where it hurts for 2 hours, and then I'm kind of just like, you know what, it is what it is.
We all need to be a bit more like you, mate. Maybe we need to all be a bit more calm, or maybe not. I'd love to hear everyone's opinion in the chat. But also, I want to say debut on the chat. It's definitely a debut this year. We'll say debut this year, but we're joined alongside Ash Matic from Spurs Kings TV. Ash, how you doing, mate? You good?
Bro, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. Big up to the panel and the chat as always. Big up to people watching on the live or the watch back. But yeah, I'm here to pop my cherry. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into it, lads.
Love it, mate. Love it. Good to have you on, mate. And yeah, we'll obviously be plugging your channel at the end and getting people over to Spurs Kings TV, another great channel in the community. We love spreading love here. We love getting people their subscribers up and everything else, and getting people over to other channels, which is absolutely great. But guys, if you are joining the stream now, make sure you're doing the usual, liking the stream, subscribing to Spurs Related down below, ringing on those notification bells. Give me a little ring in the chat. And yes, we've got plenty to catch up on, all things to do with Tottenham Hotspur transfers. Are we going to bottle some more transfers? Are we actually going to get some through the door in the last 10 days? Well, we're going to bring you the latest. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. And this is big news that's just come out in the last 10 minutes, just before we went live. Obviously, Tottenham were linked with Tyler Dibling of Southampton. A lot of fans were subdued with that. A lot of fans, actually, including Frank, were a big fan of him. But according to David Ornstein and a lot of other top journalists, Everton close to an agreement for Tyler Dibling for £40 million plus sell on to the Saints. Personal's done in principle. All needs finalising. If goes to plan, Everton medical early next week. We'll start with Frank, because I know you're a bit of a Dibling fan, Frank. Thoughts on this, mate? And it was Dibling your number one choice? Because I can tell you for free, he wasn't my top three, to be honest. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think when you start going into the sort of under 21 category again, like we've got with Tell and Odobert, you need a bit more experience, I'd say. But then again, Savinho's young as well, but just a different kettle of fish, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. As in, I think that he's not on the same level, sort of of experience as a Savio. But it just feels like one of those sort of deals that we'll look back on in 3 years' time, and I can see it in 3 years' time that Tottenham, Liverpool, City are chasing £80 million rated Everton star Tyler Dibling. I can see the headlines from a mile off. I think he's a real top talent. It wasn't necessarily my number one target for the summer, but it was the sort of deal that I could see Spurs getting done, because it's not the worst fee in the world, and I think he's ready to probably contribute now. Maybe not all the time, but contribute enough now. But I think he's going to end up being a really top player. So, I mean, I guess I think the big clubs are probably happy to take that risk and pay 70 in a few years' time if they have to make him make that step up, as we've kind of seen with Eze to Arsenal in the last couple of days. So I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I'm a little bit disappointed because I do think he's a good player, and I'm quite excited to see how he does actually for a better side than he was at last year.
Interesting, mate. Interesting stuff. I'll go down to Ash for his thoughts on Tyler Dibling. Ash, were you a Tyler Dibling fan, or are you going to just say no because he's not coming to us now?
Oh no, we lost Dibling. You know that meme, yeah, where you see Shrek and he does that kind of face and he kind of does a little smirk. That's me right now. I'm not gonna lie to you because look, Dibling, he's one that caught my eye at the start of the season earlier on. I thought, oh, this kid's kind of got something about him. He's kind of good carry of the ball, strong. Because I was kind of comparing him to our youngsters at the time what we had. And I remember like Archie Gray wasn't pulling up any trees, but we didn't play Archie obviously in his right position. And I was like, right, this kid looks a little bit more physical, in your face, kind of. But towards the middle part and the end part of the season, he kind of petered out for me. And I'm not I don't want to be a stats man or I don't want to be a GA merchant, but at this level, what we're trying to achieve, I just think he needs another club before he gets to the club that he needs to get to, which is Spurs, if that makes sense. And I'm just like, we've got youngsters already. Obviously, everyone's saying that. That's the old cliche. But it's the character, because it's not always about the underlying stats and the rest of it. It's about the character. Like, if you miss a shot, how do you bounce back? If you don't complete a dribble, how do you understand? And when I heard he went to Chelsea and then he got homesick, I said, nah, I can't have a Brennan Johnson part 2. I said, nah. You know what I'm saying? I can't be Brennan Johnson being the big bro, putting his arm around shoulders, going to say it's going to be all right. I'm like, nah. We need people that have the right mentality today, the right character now, with the kind of skill set to take us into Champions League. If you said to me, Dibling, and we're going into Champions League and we're playing teams like, you know, I don't know, Bayern Munich. I'm not going to be very excited. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, fairs. I do hear you, mate. And just to completely nullify any rumor of him coming to Tottenham, Fabrizio Romano has just this second tweeted Tyler Dibling to Everton. Here we go. So that is another one off the list. From what Ashmatic's saying there, he's not too bothered. But maybe Frank, you're going to be a bit miffed by this. But anyway, I'm going to get Sam's opinion on Tyler Dibling. And Sam, I'm also going to switch the discussion slightly from Tyler Dibling because let's be honest, who cares now? He's an Everton player. Who's at the top of your list, Sam? And do you think he's coming up in this next few slides? Is it Savinho or is it someone else?
I mean, I'll say a little bit on Dibling. It's only a tiny bit, but basically, I feel like someone said, I think it was Frank was saying, in 3 years he could be a 70 million player that you need to try and sign, but we'd have to play him all that time for him to get to that. And we've just got so many players and so many youngsters that also deserve chances. And I feel like you can't buy 2 players back-to-back summer windows, Odobert and now Dibling, of players that are right wingers that potentially could be a good player. So I just think that we need to sign ready players now, like Kudus. And I feel like that's the benchmark now. The Kudus is the benchmark of players that we should be trying to strengthen the team with. But in terms of people that I think is my top target, I don't know. I mean, when I heard people suggesting Morgan Rogers, that did pique my interest. Not that I think that that's possible, because I feel like Villa will just say no, even if they need the money. They won't want to sell to a direct, top 6 rival. And obviously they won't want to sell probably the player that they'll build their team around going forward. I'm excited by Savinho. 70 million is concerning, but also I'm concerned going into a season where, again, we just don't have the right players in. And even if we do get them in, it's not soon enough where they can be ready to hit the ground running when the season starts. But with Savinho, I think the few times we played them last season, I can't really remember a player, not necessarily that he scored or anything, but I can't remember a player that made me so fearful in a game than Savinho. Every time he got the ball, I was just looking at him on the wing like, oh my God, this guy's going to absolutely destroy us. And he went close a few times. So he's the kind of player that I would be excited about. It's going to be a lot of money, so it's going to be a lot of pressure. But, hopefully if they think that he's the man, that, they could do it. But other than that, I mentioned before to you about Ake, and I see that Everton are apparently interested in Ake, and that's one that I still think that we should be testing the waters for, because surely, guys, we got to beat Everton to a signing.
well, technically, some fans wanted Grealish, and he went to Everton, and then you've obviously got Dibling. Some fans wanted him, and then maybe Ake. Yeah, but Big Bad Rom's in the house. He's saying how much? £42 million, according to Fabrizio Romano and Ben Jacobs. So yeah, there's the final fee on Tyler Dibling. Is that steep? How old is he? 21, Tyler Dibling? I don't know. Anyway, Christopher Inshaw's in here saying about Paz. He's coming up next. And Big Bad Rob is saying, we need a left winger, not another right winger. Well, that would be part of the conversation as well. Jack is also saying, I love that little badge you get as a member. Love that from Jack. Saw a player profile map with Son and Akaluche, and it's scarily similar, which I think is a bad thing, as Sonny had a lackluster season last year. Interesting. Someone else has also put, Nathan on Facebook, why aren't we going for Harvey Elliott? Well, if you watched Frank's video yesterday, he was in the mix of potential 10s that we should be looking at. And potentially, I think you said, Frank, that, correct me if I'm wrong, you said Harvey Elliott's probably the most underrated 10. Did you say in the league or something like that? You said something along those lines.
Yeah, a lot of his underlying numbers and things, I don't know if I had many on there, but a lot of his underlying numbers kind of point that way, that he's certainly up there as one of the more underrated sort of attacking players in the league. So there's certainly one that I'm quite interested in. Okay,
well, let's talk about some 10s, shall we? And let's start off things. Again, we've brought up the ITK world. Himothy reports, who, to be fair, he's been pretty accurate this summer. We've got to give him his flowers. I mean, seen a lot of hate for him as well, which I just don't get the hate. Like, if you don't want to trust what he's saying, don't trust it. Just move on. But it's just my opinion. Spurs are still trying for Nico Paz. Apparently, he is the #1 target as of now. And then obviously we've had Spurs journo since then say that apparently we've contacted him. I don't think there's anything from Fabrizio or David Ornstein on that. But just initially, let's talk about Paz, because it is an interesting one. A lot of fans saying that he would be an absolutely class signing. And to be fair, some of his numbers for Como last season were really, really good. I don't think we have them on the screen right now, but I'm just going to bring them up for you guys and read them out. I mean, 35 matches played, 6 goals, 8 assists. I'm going to go over to Ash. Ash, what do you think on Nico Paz, mate? What's your thoughts? And obviously a Real Madrid sort of youth player, 10 goals in 29 in 2023. Decent numbers, very much a passer, very much a sort of, I guess you could call him like an Eriksen mould. What do you think of this guy, mate? And do you think he's too young? Do you think he's ready for the Prem? What's your thoughts, mate? You're on mute.
Did you ask me? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. No, sorry. If we're gonna go for a babyface assassin and Dibling's not on the market, and I say we go for Path, I know Paratici is a massive fan of this guy. Obviously, as you said, he's been raised through Real Madrid. So he's coming from that ilk, and Real Madrid put a clause in the contract that they get first dibs. So they are looking at him. They want him back, but there is some type of release clause, not release clause, but I think a buyback clause they have, and also a fee where if Como sell him, we have to pay a bit to Real Madrid and a bit to Como. So it's a joint fee. So that's the reason why the price is so high. But in terms of ability, I was comparing him to Morgan Rogers because that was the big player that everybody liked. And as you said, he is that passing merchant, more of an Eriksen mold, but he can carry the ball and he can dribble. So you got a bit of both. And when I looked at his through balls, he completed more through balls than Morgan Rogers. And he had more progressive passes than Morgan Rogers also. Dribbling stats as well, dribbles per 90, he's not far off Morgan Rogers. In terms of completing dribbles. And the areas he occupies are both pockets in the right and the left. So the half space just in front of the area, that's where he thrives. So he's got great vision. He's able to link play. And what I do like about him, because I'm sure we're going to talk about another target soon, but he's also got, for a young player, great physicality. So he's able to get a hold of the ball and create that separation from himself and the player, so he knows how to use his body. So that's why I make that small comparison with Kulu, because he is left-footed as well and likes to carry the ball on either side. But yeah, the guy can finish as well. He's got a decent shot on him, outside the box finishes. So Spurs fans will be excited by that. And yeah, I can see why there's a lot of hype. He was young player of Serie A as well. And people will be like, can players come from Serie A and make it in the Premier League? Well, we know Reinders has just come from Serie A, and he made a fantastic debut, in my opinion, when he played Wolves. So I've got high hopes for this kid. Also, I'd say when we're looking at Morgan Rogers, he came from a lower league in Championship in Middlesbrough, and he came from there. He didn't get the player of the season, but he came up into the Premier League, and we know what he did next. And that's the reason why I thought, let me compare the two of the kids and see what happens. Obviously, Morgan Rogers is a lot older than Nico Paz, and that gives me a lot more hope. The only downside is that we haven't seen a lot of Nico Paz. A bit like Elliot, there's not like a massive pool to judge him from, because I think with Elliot, he's been in and out, if that makes sense, of Liverpool. He hasn't had a full season where he started. He might come on and make an appearance and make an impact, but as a starter or being the main man, we haven't seen that from Harvey Elliott. That's my only judgment on Elliott. But we saw what the damage he did at the England 21s. Also, Morgan Gibbs White, similar story. Under 21s, he was fantastic. So this kid here, like for me, looking at his numbers, underlying stats, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Even shots per 90, he's actually got more than Morgan Rogers as well. So that's encouraging.
100%, mate. Yeah, no, the very fair assessment, and it sounds like you're a bigger fan of him than Tyler Dibling. But yeah, we're going to bring up some of his stats in a minute. Sam, I'll come to you in a minute on your thoughts on Nico Paz. But Frank, you're gonna share your screen, and we're going to take a little bit of a deeper look into it. And guys, a little bit of a engagement section, because you guys know I love doing them. Give me a little, because I've seen a few people saying, like Rom saying, taking a gamble on a one-season wonder, 60 million ready for Daniel Levy to burn. There's a few in the chat that aren't, Ryan's a fan of him, but there's a few in the chat that aren't too happy with this. So the first engagement piece is, give me a little 1 in the chat if you want Paz, and a little 2 if you do not. Just number them, 1 or 2. 1, yes, I want Paz. 2, I don't. Let's see the general consensus. But Frank, yeah, you're going to quickly whip us through the stats, right?
Yes, his basic numbers are that he got 15 goals and assists in the league last season. He was obviously part of a Como team that under Cesc Fabregas were quite exciting. I spent some decent money, but were quite exciting and began to threaten. One thing that, I mean, we've spoken about the sort of importance of it on here before. One thing that I'm really keen on him, and same with Morgan Rogers as well, actually, but is the fact that he's just under 6'2". And I think having, he's big.
Really?
Yeah, he's 6'1.5", I think, and having a big side, I do think makes a difference in the Premier League. Certainly, I think having a physically like imposing side, and in that side currently, they've got a few. Bentancur's big. The centre halves are big. The fullback of Spencer and Udogie are, but Kudus, even being small, is physically strong and tough. And I think that is kind of what Thomas Frank wants. He wants a team that's going to be you can beat Tottenham, but you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to go through Tottenham, and that's what he had at Brentford. That we became last season so easy to beat. We were spineless a lot of the time. We were chaotic. We're a bit of a mess. And this is going to be so different. And I think he fits that mold, being that he's physically imposing as well as being technically like an intelligent and good footballer. So yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. I imagine he's certainly one that is on their list. As I say, his numbers last year were pretty good for a young guy in a league that is probably one of the better leagues in Europe defensively. I mean, I look at, I always worry and I'm slightly skeptical when players come from Germany, for example, because I think defensively it's quite a poor league. Same as France, and Spain can vary, but I think Italy's probably behind the Premier League as one of the better defensive sort of leagues, and so his numbers are pretty good. As I say, not for one of the best sides. So yeah, I'm pretty sort of excited by this if they do look to get it done. I also really love, and this is just a personal preference, I really love left footers, and the idea of sort of, I think there's an elegance of them. So that's something that I'd be quite excited about. But yeah, I think his numbers are pretty good. All bodes pretty well. Yeah, I would quite like him at Tottenham.
Yeah, good point. Didn't realise about his height, mate. That's news to me, and that's interesting. Sam, coming over to you, mate. Thoughts on Nico Paz? Do you agree with Frank and Ash? Do you think he'd be a good signing? Are you worried about the experience? What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'd be lying if I said I'd ever seen him play. But the experience thing is obviously quite a big thing. I just think at this point we just need to get players in, and if he's got good potential but is also performing, I know people in the comments are saying that the Serie A is slower, but I feel like players have come over. Like, I think about players like Jorginho, for example. I know he's also a midfielder. He's a slightly deeper midfielder, but you know, as Frank said about the physicality, that is important. And you know, as much as we hate to give any credit to those guys who wear red, like not that far from here, they are also set up like that. They've got a very imposing team. And, you know, I feel like gone are the days now. I mean, look at players like Morgan Rogers as well. Rogers is like 6'1", 6'2". You know, Kulusevski, similar sort of mold. They become almost battering rams, even if they've got a bit of about them with their sort of technical ability, which, you know, all those players do. But yeah, ultimately, I think we just need to bring some players in now. We've got, what's it going to be, 8 days? So players have got to come in.
But does that not concern you that it's like a case of, right, we've got 10 days left. We play Man City tomorrow. We've got no more new signings for that game. You know, what is it? 10 days. So what is it, a Monday that the window ends? Monday the 1st, right? Ash, are you not a little bit concerned that it's like, get someone in, get Paz in, get it's now become rushed because of the situation? And while I'm asking you this question of, do you think it's panic stations, just give me a very quick thoughts on the Eze situation, because are you as annoyed as I was, or?
Yeah, I was very annoyed. I'm just reading Duncan Castle's claiming that Spurs have gone in for Lee Kang-in of PSG, 50 million euros. But yeah, of course, I've said it before. For me, quickly, Eze annoyed me because you're losing a quality player that's got experience, number one. And he's not just got experience over 1 or 2 seasons where he's performed. He's performed over the last 3 seasons. He's got over 16 GA, and he scored at key moments in big games against all of the big 6, in my opinion. So that's a difference maker, and a player that can come in and replace a Son-like figurehead, if that makes sense. And the fact that we took so long and we messed around with bonuses, etc. When I heard Ben Jacobs actually break it down on what happened and how we lost out on him, that's what frustrated me, because it just reminded me of a Luis Diaz situation and other transfers that have gone by. And so it's like we're not learning from similar mistakes. And I thought after MGW, they would be a lot more, what's the word? Laser focused, a lot more efficient, locked in, and trying to get the deal done, because they do know the relationship with Arsenal. They knew that they had a deal in place before, and anything can happen in football, like how fast football moves. So that's what really wound me up about the deal. And obviously we needed a 10. With Arsenal, they didn't necessarily need one. I think that's where Arsenal was smart, because they weakened us in the market, because not only did we waste the time, and they saw that, but they realized that if they take him off our hands, then we won't get up another level. So that's how I look at it as well. So it's like a double jeopardy. And obviously losing that to your North London rivals is always nasty as well. But this is a player for me, like we've been obviously tracking from when Chris Ramsey, ex-Spurs coach, came over to QPR, looked at him, said to Spurs to keep looking at this kid. We said, a bit like Dibling, let him go to like a Palace or Everton, but Dibling's go to Everton, then go to a Palace, let him develop. And then ever since then, I was more mad that we didn't get it done last season, because I thought last season was a real opportunity. But then this season, we've had another second chance and we still messed it up. And for me, I just don't like embarrassment. That's my thing. So I think that's why, for me, I like I'm just about just be efficient, get the speed. If you know what you want, just do it fast, get the deal done. And the reason why it also angered me a little bit more is because Parish came out and said, why couldn't we just be like Liverpool? Liverpool just got on with business nice and smooth. And it kind of just gave me that horrible flashback to DS again, because I know his dad was in a training ground talking to the people, and it's like, why? And the agents just wanted to get paid. And they're like, what are we doing? Like, why are they not doing this deal for? And then Liverpool heard what's going on. Bang, done. Yep. Same thing. So it's like, we just don't learn.
100%, mate. Yeah, it's complete. It's just complete it's just shambles, isn't it? Not being clinical. It's just unbelievable. And for me, the thing that hurts is like you said, when Ben Jacobs broke it down, or other journalists broke it down, the fact that we literally had a free run for 10 days. And Arsenal are probably thinking, what are they doing? Like, we'll just come in and pay the extra few million on add-ons, few million on player bonuses, few clauses, bit of sell-on fees to Palace. It's like, just get it done and dusted, move on, have a class number 10, have a new poster boy at the club, have a very, very class player. You know, look at Michael Elise. I always compare it. Michael Elise smashing it for Bayern Munich. I think Eze could go and do things at big clubs like that. And then Arsenal are like, yeah, actually, do you know what? We'll come in. Not only will it win over the fans, because it's just absolutely rent-freed all of Spurs fans' mindset, but number two, we've got a class player for a number of years in his prime. And it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you know what, James? People do underestimate the fact that when a player gets on the ball, that momentum lifts the crowd. So that little nutmeg that he does, it gets away, a burst of acceleration, fans get up their seats. And if we've got a double dual threat of a Kudos and an Eze, I think most of my rival fans, they were getting a bit nervous and giving me a bit of like, oh, you know what, Spurs are looking. And then when this happened, it was like Spursy. We kind of lost that kind of respect that we've won a European trophy from them anyway. And I know people say you shouldn't focus on but unfortunately we don't live in a vacuum. Well, I don't. I know a lot of, I'm in South London, so I'm surrounded by it.
Oh dear. Hearing there's a bit of breaking news. Well, is this the Fabrizio tweet, Frank?
Yeah, it's not major, but it's that Spurs have approached Xavi Simons, according to Fabrizio Romero, but he is currently giving his priority to Chelsea. Is the latest on that. So, 1 second, there's another one as well.
Yeah,
I understand Tottenham now prepared to improve their bids.
Savio.
I hadn't even seen that one.
Bring it up on screen, Frank. I'll give you 30 seconds to bring it up on screen. I'm just going to go to Sam before you bring up on screen. So there is some breaking news, guys. Stick around. There's 120 of you in the house across Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you're smashing the like button. It's free to do so. It's down below. And subscribe if you are new to the channel. We're very close to 4,000 subscribers now. We're going to keep going. Try and get to 10K sort of by the end of the season. That's the aim. And make sure in a minute when I put the links in, you're going to go and check out Sam's Twitter, and you're going to go and check out Ash's great channel, Spurs Kings TV. But make sure you're smashing like on Spurs Related, smashing the subscribe button, and turning the notification bells on to never miss us going live pretty much every single day for you guys. We're trying to churn out the content, so a little bit of a like and a subscribe goes a long, long way. There is a membership option. There's a couple of new members last show. The membership option is just below in the description. First thing you click on, I think it's £2 a month, and you can come on the channel and have your say after matches. We're going to be live after the City game. You guys can come on, have a rant, or maybe have a little party. Depends on what the result is. But Frank is now going to tell us about the Fabrizio Romero news. You're on mute, Frank.
Sorry. Yeah, he sticks the he sticks the alert emoji in there to make it look like something's going on, but nothing's actually really going on, it seems. Right. Tottenham are prepared to improve their bid, basically to what we were led to believe near enough that City wanted. I kind of thought this could have been the case, that they were almost waiting to play each other and then they'd get it sorted, which is a little bit mad, but that's kind of the way it seems to be going. Yeah, I mean, I've waxed lyrical enough about him that I think he's brilliant. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of comments there that it is just regurgitated from everything else he said, to be honest. But yeah, I'm on kind of my opinion on him. I hope he comes. I was more excited by him at the time than Eze, and that's not coping. I've said that enough. But I think he could take Tottenham up a level. He's obviously only young, but there's a seriously high ceiling, but there's already a high level of his current performances. And so I hope we get this done, because I think having him and Kudus on the wings it's tough to stop, put it that way, because you've got sheer pace, sheer flair and skill. So yeah, I mean, it's one for me. That's the priority for me. Now get that done, and then work on a 10 either at the same time or get a 10 done afterwards, and then I will be slightly less angry than I maybe was 2-3 days ago, because they've got to get something done. As Sam said, they've got to get bodies in, because right now the squad is weak. You could argue it's at a weaker point than it was last year, and last year it was weak. So yeah, they need to get some bits done, but Savinho is probably the one I want the most right now, because I think he'd take Tottenham up a real level.
Absolutely. Sam, out of all the three, well, how many did we discuss? 2 or 3 we discussed so far. Savinho, Paz, and we've got a couple more we've discussed about Harvey Elliott as well. I know Ash has talked about Morgan Rogers. Out of those 4, mate, who's the number 1 target for you? Who do you think we should be going for? And guys in the chat, let me know, out of Paz, Savinho, Elliott, and who's the other one? I've already forgotten. Morgan Rogers. Which one of those would you want to sign? And if there's someone else you think we should sign, whack it in the comments below. We'll do a little deep dive into some signings, because yes, this is the one that everyone keeps talking about. The Akalushe, what's his name? Alakushe. I've probably butchered that. But actually, you probably had a shocker. But yeah, we'll get that out. But yeah, sorry, Sam. Who is it you want before the end of the window?
Well, it's like we're already talking about which one do we want. They told us that we were going to get Eze and Savinho. So why has that suddenly just become we're going all out for like one player? We still have a lot of work that needs to be done. It's not the fans' fault that the clubs messed around the entire summer window, and we're now 8 days from the end. So I still feel like we should be going for 2, Eze equivalent signings. Players of a high level, which I guess, if they're looking at Xavi Simons and, if they are looking at Savinho, I feel like Savinho at this point kind of like has to get done now. Because I feel like the perception from the fans was we were promised Eze and Savinho, and if we get neither of them, and I feel like this is how because the way that all the tweets are coming out, the club is they're putting out the rumors that they're readying this bid for Savinho. So I feel like the clubs see it as there's going to be serious protests if we don't get this over the line, if we go 0 for 2 for Savinho and Eze. So for me, Savinho has to come in, and in a dream world, I'd also want to get Rogers in. I feel like there is something to him also being English and having Premier League experience and European experience now, and playing well in both those competitions. He picked up Young Player of the Year, didn't he? So obviously he's going to command a pretty decent price. And as I said before, I can't imagine Villa even really entertaining any offers that weren't astronomical. And yeah, as I said, I don't really know anything about Paz. I saw a little bit of Akliouche. I'm just going on how it looks like it's spelled. I saw a little bit of him in the Champions League against Arsenal. I thought he looked pretty tidy. Yeah, I don't know. The first 2 I mentioned are probably the ones that I'm most interested in. But I don't know if I can read the same tweet in 10 different ways by different media outlets all day, every day for the next 8 days until it all happens on the deadline day.
Yeah, it's getting pretty tiring, isn't it? Especially when you get a link and then you're not sure if we're actually going to get over the line. Darren Fearon, did you lot see Frank's interview? Actually, completely reminded me we need to go through the press conference today, and we've got a few interesting quotes that he brought up. But yeah, here's on screen now. Just apparently Spurs are preparing a 70 million euro bid, according to Fabrizio Romano. This was earlier today. In the last 24 hours, contacts have continued for the player. He does look good in a Tottenham shirt, I've got to be honest. So we'll see how that one plays out. We'll see if we get any more bombers at the end of the day or any time. But obviously, as I said, it will come here first for you guys in a video or a live stream. So make sure you're turning on the noti bell when you subscribe down below, because that's an important one. But as I said, in terms of the press conference today, Thomas Frank sends clear message. He said, to be very, very clear, I do not want any players that don't want to come to the club. Very much, in my opinion, that's very clear. He's talking about Eberechi Eze. They don't want to come to the club to wear this fantastic badge. We don't want them there. And to be honest with you, I completely agree. Ash, do you see Thomas Frank's logic here? If Eze wants to go to Arsenal, do you know what? Let him do it. We'll hate watching him all year. No, joking. But no, what do you think, mate?
PR. Come on, bro. Come on. It's PR, man. Come on. After that fumble, they had to come out and say, you know what? The board should be coming out and saying something. Do you understand? But they ain't got no backbone. And they're not cut. They're all cut from a similar cloth. So that's why they got Frank to come out. He's the coach. He's the manager. He's the nice guy. He's the one that everybody loves. He's the one that gives everyone hope. And he's going to say things that like all Spurs fans want to hear. Let's be honest, bro. Yeah, I don't want to. It's like when Ange said it as well. If they want Champions League football, then they're not the right player for us. Let's be real. Come on. We want quality at the club. Saying that, listen, Savio, for me, and Akalush together, I'm here for it. I think that does take us up a level. So Frank did come out and say, I want 2 10s. And you can have 2 10s. One can like obviously play left wing and go in the middle, and one could do the 10 role and go right wing. And so then you would have cover for both 10s if you wanted to change the system, because you could do for potential a 4-3-2-1 where you've got 2 10s behind the striker, or you could go back to your traditional 4-2-3-1 where you have your traditional wingers hugging the touchline, going from out to in. And so we just basically want good footballers with good traits. Frank's already spoke about it in terms of physicality, in terms of height or ability, being able to hold on to the ball, being press resistant, and then have an end product at the end of it. Those are the type of players you want in the squad. And so I think that's what we're looking for. And I think like that's what coaches nowadays, they want footballers, if that makes sense. So they're not just tied to one position. They can help bridge the gap between defense and attack, because I feel like that was an issue for Spurs at some time when Madison's not there. Do we have a player that can take it from the fullback, the centre back, and not rely on a Romero to punch through those passes, not rely on Poro's balls over the top or switches, for example? Now you're going to have midfielders that can hurt teams, and they don't have to isolate maybe our right-hand side, because our right-hand side looks a little stronger than our left-hand side. You can see how it's not quite connected. But when you've got the dual threat, when you've got players that can do, or footballers, shall I say, that can do more than one thing, then that's how you hurt teams, because teams have got more than one thing to worry about. They might, bring their players to one side, and then all of a sudden a switch, a quick pass, and we've hurt them. And that's how you hurt teams.
I agree, mate. I think at the moment it's a little bit predictable that we're going to be going down that right-hand side with Kudus, because he's just unbelievable. We've seen how good he's been in the first couple of games. And I think even against City, we're just going to be playing down his side. I'm not sure who's going to start on the left. We'll do a little predicted lineup before the end of the stream. Guys, the comments are going nuts, by the way, today. I mean, there's like 140 of you in the house now. I mean, even when there was 300 the other day, there seems to be more comments. I think you guys are the hardcore fans watching now. You love a little comment. I love it. I'm trying to catch up with chat, and then I'll come over to Frank, because I feel like Thomas Frank's AI's son is brewing a bit of a rant or something. I can feel it. But Ryan's saying Frank can't be seen to be desperate. Dukes is saying attacking wise, we have a few options. Defensively, I don't think we've had a stronger side in years. I completely agree. Krashak saying it's not 70 mil. I think it's over 70 mil. I think that's 70 million pounds, or I could be wrong. They keep quoting in euros, actually, don't they? Savio in the yellow third kit. He loves it. He loves it. Frank's words were, I expect a player to come in. That's a bit worrying. I think we need 2 or 3. I'll get everyone's thoughts in a minute. Savinho and Paqueta for some extra flair. Tell you one thing, Sebastian, I'd love Paqueta, but I don't think we're going to raid West Ham again. I think they'll have to fold as a club if we take 2 of their players. that's an embarrassing thing to say in public. He's an obvious puppet like Ange was. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I think there is an element of that, but you know, as Ash is saying, maybe it's PR. Dukes is saying his heart was never in it. Everyone is acting like Eze is the second coming of Christ. J-Med saying every player's saying it. He's belittling the club. Just skip a few guys.
Can I just say something about? Can you go back to that one about the second coming of Christ?
Yeah.
I actually really agree with this comment. Not necessarily the second coming of Christ thing, but I think that people are taking this extra hard because there was a narrative, a very strong narrative in the Spurs community that Eze was Spurs, that he was the ideal player to play for Spurs. He was the most Spurs. I saw so many tweets about how he was Spurs. And I think that the fact that he's ended up going to Arsenal when he was within our grasp, I think has fried a lot of people. And I did put out a tweet earlier, just basically begging people to stop putting F Eze and FU Fabrizio under like every Romano post, because it's not only embarrassing themselves, but it's embarrassing all of us.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I can't say I'll be honest, I haven't held back with my tweets recently. I've had about 150 Arsenal fans in just one tweet saying you're sad.
Can I come in? Sorry, can I come in?
On, mate,
I kind of like disagree slightly, because if we're gonna go mad for Savinho,
yeah,
Savinho has 1 goal last season. Let's have it right. And I'm excited about Savinho. Don't get me wrong, because his creativity is what we need. He's an exciting player, and I agree with Sam. When he played us, he was a menace. He was ripping us a new one. But his finishing, and I did go back and I looked at it, and I listened to what Pep was saying, and it was like a deep dive I looked at, because they were talking about how he hits the ball and then why he was missing it and where he was taking shots from. And I don't have any doubt that Thomas Frank could improve him, because that's what Thomas Frank does. He gets a player and he puts them in positions where he helps them to get a higher probability, because he works on the actual metric models of, like, he's got like the stats, whatever. So he uses the data analytics to help improve players, along with Cochrane as well. He's worked with a lot of young players. So I don't have any doubts that Savinho will improve and go up to level. But I think the reason why so many people were like obsessed like with Eze, and I do agree with Sam, because it is over the top, it is too much. And I do agree with Thomas Frank, what he said. Disappointed for 24 hours and then you move on. I think that's a good rule just in life, to understand. So I'm here for it. But I think with Eze, because he's got that kind of flair about him, I think some of the older fans, they associate that with Spurs players of the past. So your Janolas, your Waddles, your Gascoignes, your Hoddles, and he kind of gives that kind of air. But not only that, as I said before, prior, with Savinho and Eze, I didn't mind Savinho coming in if he was lacking the goals. Whereas Eze, even in his worst season, was putting up numbers in big games as well, and season after season after season. So it's not even like Eze was a flash in the pan and he got like an output, maybe last season, maybe Elise was helping him. He's done it and he's proved himself at this level, and he's had to come up as well. He's had to prove, because there's one point when he did first come to Crystal Palace, and Vieira, was it Vieira? Not Vieira. Patrick Vieira. Patrick Vieira was the coach at Palace, and he dropped him. And I remember thinking, oh, geez, is that him done? And then he had to come back. I remember Hodgson came back, played him again, and he had to revive his career and had to come back. So he's got a little story, a little fight there. So that's my only thing where I think a lot of Spurs fans have followed him throughout his career and were kind of like attached, if that makes sense, because they've been following him. And I think that's why the fallout's been so crazy. But I do agree with Sam. Like, there's a time, like, it's too much. If you're like doing that underneath Fabrizio's tweets, like, come on, what we doing, man? We're grown people.
I'll be honest, I thought we were going to have a full-on debate and an argument then. I thought we were going to get clips and all sorts. But
no, I have to be fair, man, because Sam is right. Do you understand? Sam is talking facts. Do you get it? So I can't be disingenuous.
I wasn't like, I agree with everything you said. I wasn't saying like, I don't think that Eze was a good player. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he would have been a great signing for us. And I am very disappointed about it. But as you said, and as I said earlier, I got the notification that it was happening at dinner while I was out with my family in Shoreditch, and just by chance, as this was all happening, who walks in? Ian Wright, who is like beaming like ear to ear. He sits directly behind my chair, and I can just hear him talking about just like Eze to Arsenal. So I go to the toilet, I come back. Who's sitting there? Miles Lewis Smelly is sitting at the table as well, and they're just chatting about Eze. I was like, for God's sake, get me out of here.
Oh, that is horrible.
Yeah, so I had
horrible.
that initial like horrible experience, and then I was obviously annoyed about him going to Arsenal. It's just it is annoying, and you can't get past that. But ultimately, I can accept it not happening. I'm angry that it's taken so long, and I saw someone saying it's been like 40 days or something since the Gibbs White thing. It was like the beginning of June, of July. So you mentioned this earlier, Ash. Like, how have we got to this point? We've spent all this time just, doing nothing, seemingly, when you could have gone to get Eze, but you didn't. And now we've got 8 days of the window left. And again, like typical Spurs, we've got no backup. We've got no plans, no successor. Look how long it's taken us to. I know that you're not going to find a Kane replacement or a Son replacement like that, but we're now into the third season of Kane not being here, and we're still basically trying to figure out how to replace Christian Eriksen.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. And Jan Vertonghen, we need a left centre back, left back mold, don't we? So it does feel a bit like that. But I'm just gonna move the conversation on if you guys.
Can I add something very quickly about Eze as well?
Go on, Frank,
just very quickly. And another thing I think that's probably impacted the fallout post what's happened is so many of Eze's numbers came at the back end of last season that in the league he had 2 goals going into April and something like 4 or 5 assists, and he ended the season on 8 of each. And obviously won the FA Cup and scored in the final. And I think obviously he's a great player, but I think that sort of 2-month period that he had at the end of the season where he was every week, people had him in their fantasy teams, he was scoring goals, he won the cup, I think probably built up this whole thing, and then he's probably going to go this summer, and we all kind of jumped on that bandwagon that it was hopefully going to be us. And I think we kind of all made ourselves believe that because City weren't going, they just gone and signed Rangers and Cherky and whoever and whatever. And so I think we all kind of bought into this idea because it all built up at one point, as opposed to him having a sort of his numbers being distributed across the season. But that sort of, obviously he was a good season, but that almost purple patch of numbers at the end probably built up to a point that's made this worse, I think.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I just think for me, it doesn't matter how good he was last season, whether it was at the end or whether it was at the start. The fact of the matter is, Frank, he got 8 goals, 8 assists in the Premier League, very good numbers, and he's a top quality player. And I think actually he could probably in a better team do even better. So I wouldn't personally be surprised if he goes into Arsenal and gets 10 goals, 10 assists. That wouldn't shock me at all. But anyway, enough about Eze because he's an absolute Judas, isn't he, really? I'm joking. Oh, well, I'm not. So anyway, Thomas Frank denies reports on Richarlison leaving, because this is the other problem for me is how does Richie feel now that he probably knows from the press or from internally that he was going to be shipped off as part of the Eze deal when we were panicking? Right now, he is my starting 9. He scored 2 top goals. Richie wants to stay. I want to keep him, and there's been no talks about anything else. Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, Thomas, because you didn't, but Levy tried using him in the deal. We know that for sure. So that is an interesting one. But there you go. Look, beautiful. Right now, Richarlison is my starting 9. Just very quickly, we'll go to Frank actually, because Frank, you haven't said a lot in a bit. What do you think on this situation, mate? Because I know you're not a massive Richarlison fan, but do you think it's only fair that he starts tomorrow? I mean, I think it's pretty much dead on. But how does Solanke get back in this team? Does Richarlison have to go on a bit of a scoreless run, or what do you reckon?
I think a mixture. I think, first of all, I think he probably does deserve to start tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know how fit Solanke is yet. Obviously missed most of pre-season, so he's going to come back and it's probably going to take a little bit of time. I would be surprised if Solanke starts before the international break. Having said that, though, when we come back from that international break, I think it's kind of all to play for between the two of them. I think that Solanke just has to take his chances when he comes on. I thought he looked pretty decent the other day against Burnley when he came on. He was quite unlucky with 1 or 2 chances as well. So he'll have to take his chances. Richarlison will have to go on a scoreless run or get injured, as he tends to. So, listen, I would be absolutely staggered if Richarlison has a whole year this year where he stays fit the whole year. So that Solanke is going to get chances to get back into that team. And I think Solanke is a good enough player that he will take those chances and probably make himself, I reckon, probably by September, October time, he'll be the starting striker again, as we kind of have all thought he will be.
So you haven't got your faith in Richarlison then, is what you're saying? You think Solanke will be back in by September or October? Ash, Sam, do you disagree with Frank? Do you think Richie's going to carry on with his purple patch?
I think Solanke, outside the box, is a better footballer.
Yeah.
But Richie, he's just got something about him that you need in a forward or you need in a striker. Just hungry, tenacious, aggression. Even when he wasn't doing so well, he was like a chaotic kind of striker, if that makes sense. It's almost like a horse with blinders. Do you know what I'm saying? He just got one track thing on his mind. He just wants to be in that 6-yard box and just create havoc. And so the goals he scored on the weekend, he scores the harder chances. And I think that's the Brazilian side of him, if that makes sense. But I would like to see if he has that composure 1v1 in front of goal, how would he be then? Do you know what I'm saying? Versus a Solanke. So you've got two different, in my opinion, type of forwards. And so I honestly think when it comes to, it's good for both of them because they've got competition now. So you will see the best of Richarlison and you'll also see the best of Solanke. But I just think World Cup year just makes a big difference for Richarlison. Like, he wants to be that guy for Brazil. He wants to be the main striker, the main number 9, and he doesn't want to go anywhere. Like, he's in the Champions League as well, so that's motivating him too. So what I'm expecting to see the best of Richie, whether he can start and take that number 9 shirt of Solanke, is going to be very, very interesting to see, because if we do get Savinho, that supply will be there, and we've already seen what Kudus can do from the right in terms of crosses in the box. He's one of the better forwards or wingers, if you want to call it that. And I've looked at the stats as well in terms of this season already, and he's got like the most completed crosses for a winger, Kudus has. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get that dual threat off the left and the right. And I reckon that Brazilian connection might do wonders for a player like Richarlison. So it'll be interesting to see. But I agree with Frank in terms of, like, he has been better in PSG, granted, and obviously in that Burnley game, the hold-up play, he's been because normally what he does is just fall to the floor, and he did fall to the floor in that game as well to pick up a foul. I would like him to be a little bit more stronger, like a Solanke, and then, link play, etc. But he does what he does. That's the type of player he is. He's like a Nunes, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Scores the hard goals, the easier goals. Question mark.
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison. Actually, I think that's a very good comparison. Sam, I'll get your thoughts on Richie in just a moment. I'm conscious of time, and I want to get up a few more on tomorrow, 12 o'clock. I mean, we're just over 12 hours away from the game, and I want to get everyone's thoughts in the chat, score predictions, etc. But obviously that's about Richarlison. Alistair Gold went on to say that Thomas Frank was asked if his Spurs squad is any stronger than before the window opened. He said, big there. You can say that's 2 players in, 2 players out. So probably pretty similar, I would say. But also, as I said, I think in my first press conference was that it's a good squad. I think there's some talented players. I think there's some quality players in there as well. So probably the same level, but I think that's good. He said, then it's up to me together with the players and the staff to make sure we can compete. And make sure we can compete. Sorry, something's hiding. And then, as I said, we can do what we can do to strengthen it. So that's quite interesting. Sam, I come to you. Do you think from those quotes from Thomas Frank there that he's actually saying he's not too happy? Is that a bit of an alarm bell moment?
Well, I mean, are any of us happy? There's probably not one Spurs fan that's actually happy at the moment. Other than people who are still absolutely, and rightfully so, swinging from the rafters about the Europa League win. I did enjoy a good Frank Sinatra edit earlier. Gave me goosebumps at work, I will say. But I think, look, Frank rightly should be concerned. I think one of you mentioned at the beginning of the show, or maybe it was in the green room, that the squad is weaker than it was last season. And I think someone put it on Twitter, it was like 66 goals have been taken out of the team in the last month or whatever, with Son leaving, Kulu being injured, and Maddison obviously being injured. 66 contributions. And obviously those are huge numbers to just go out the team. We've let all the youngsters go, so there's not really any backups in the squad. And look, we've seen it. If Burnley were a decent team, they would have probably scored against us, and then it's a completely different game because they had chances in that first half. There was probably 30 minutes of that game where they had decent momentum, and we kind of allowed them a lot of the ball, which was concerning for playing against Burnley. And the goals that we scored were ultimately two crosses that we never saw under Ange, really, because we only really crossed on the ground to good effect. I won't deny that, but we just very clearly need someone who can unlock a deep defense, and we need someone who can break the lines. I think one of the most important things that we lack at the moment is significant pace. Other than really Eze, and I know that Johnson is also quick, but I've seen people say that he's the slowest, fastest player ever, and he's not the kind of player that beats a man. And you need sort of a mix of both pace and ability to take someone on. And unfortunately, Johnson doesn't have that. Although he did take his goal very, very well, I will say that the little scoop chip past the defender and then rolls it in very calmly. I was impressed with that. I was very impressed with that.
I don't think anyone's doubting that. I think it's his ability to beat a man and a bit of pace and a bit of flair. He's just very much a one-trick pony, in my opinion. I don't know if that's harsh, but I do agree with you saying there, Sam. Thomas Frank also said we're in the market and we will look to strengthen the team. We will do everything we can to be as competitive as possible. So that's what Thomas Frank's saying. As for what Pep Guardiola was saying, when asked on Akanji and Savinho, he said, I don't know about that. They are our players and we'll see what happens. I think a few things are going to happen and we'll see. Well, I mean, Pep's kind of stating the obvious there, but obviously interesting one about Savinho. Very much not sure still what's going to happen with that. Hopefully we see some revelation on that. But I think what's also interesting, and then take this with a pinch of salt, guys, because this is not tier 1. This is probably not tier 2 or 3. But according to some sources, Wilson Odobert, who, let's be honest, is really not in the fold for the starting 11 at the moment. Roma apparently are eyeing a move for him. And apparently it could be a loan deal, which is very Tottenham. I could weirdly see this happening, but apparently Tottenham want 22 million. Are you surprised on this, Frank? I'll start with you on this one. Are you surprised on this? Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But I thought Odobert was in the pecking order over Tell at one point, but perhaps not.
Yeah, I'd be very, very, very surprised if it's true. I mean, the only way that it could be true is that if it is just a straight loan. I think it's very unlikely that they would buy someone for, when it came to 30 last year, I think it was, buy someone for £30 million. Him have a look decent in sort of flashes and things. Obviously, he had quite an injury-riddled year, and then sell him for 10 million cheaper the year after. I mean, that is very un-Daniel Levy. So yeah, I think this is probably just someone in Italy trying to sell a story because they're bored. And that's probably all it is. I would be disappointed as well if it's true, because I'd be really disappointed, because I think that Odobert is a top player, as I think Tel is, and as I've praised the pair of them. I still need to see more from the pair of them, but I think they're both good players, and I think they both have big futures at Tottenham, with the right coaching and the right sort of progression and pathway set out for them. That I would be very surprised, very, very surprised if he went.
Yeah, interesting one. Quick one from Ash and Sam. Odobert or Tel, which one would you start over another if you had to pick?
So I think what it is, Kudus has obviously nailed that right hand position down, but we're not going to use him in every single game. So I'm looking at Odobert as a right winger, even though he did play as a left winger in the season. That's only because we were going to have Kudus on the right and then Odobert on the left. So that was the option at the time. And I think that's why people are comparing Odobert to Tel. But obviously Odobert, out of the two, he's shown a lot more with the ball in terms of like possession. So carrying, dribbling, he's a lot more refined. He can take his man on a little bit more than Tel. And so this is the season we were looking to see what can Tel do further forward. Some people are saying, is Tel a striker or is he a winger? We weren't sure. I think he's somewhere in between, if I'm being totally honest. But I think Frank is actually trying to develop him before our eyes. I think he is trying to work on his ability to shield the ball, to look after it, and then play off, link play with other players. People do like his power of his shots, but he needs to work on his IQ, when to do it, his timing as well. And how to use players and how to take less touches to get his shot off, if that makes sense. So move the ball quickly out your feet. Boom, can you get a shot? Can you shoot for the legs? Can you curl around? So it's those little smaller details, when to do it in the box, etc. I think Thomas Frank's working on. But it all depends on how and where you see. If Odobert is on the left, then I can see it, because Savinho's coming in. Like we've got what, Odobert, Tel, and Savio and Richarlison that could potentially play. I know Richarlison's number striker, but I'm just saying we've got a lot of players that can play on the left. So then I could see that story having legs. Maybe not right now, but in January. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I've just got to quickly say, I think whoever goes, we need to see signings before we see players going out, in my opinion. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. We need to be bringing in some players, not necessarily talking about outgoings, although I know that sometimes it does hinge on outgoings to get incomings, but the way we're playing, it's absolutely bonkers. But anyway, I wanted to bring up the potential 11 for tomorrow. Frank, we've already discussed this on yesterday's live. We think that probably the only change to this predicted lineup from SofaScore would be Bergvall instead of Bergvall, we'd have Paulinho in there. Sam, I'll spin over to you. Is that your lineup for the game tomorrow? And if not, mate, what are you changing?
I'm not unhappy with that, but I'd like to see us go slightly more attacking, personally. And I feel like I'd maybe push it to an attacking mid and two holding mids. So still like a 5-2-1-2 or whatever. And if Solanke is, this is sort of hinges on whether Solanke is fit enough to play or not. But I want to see what Rishi and Solanke can do up front together, because it's kind of similar to what Ash was saying about Richarlison being like a bloodhound, sniffing out that half chance, and Solanke just being a better footballer sort of all round. And last season I think that where people criticized Solanke is he was dropping deep and then we had nothing to play. But if you're taking away, your attacking mid, then you do need someone in that pocket. And if Dom sort of drops a little bit and then Kudus runs off of him and so does Richarlison, it could be interesting if City have started trying to sort of pen us into our own box on the counter,
100%. So just in summary, mate, are you saying that's the lineup? Are you putting Paulinho as well? Do you agree there?
I think that Palhinha starts instead of Bergvall, but other than that, I think that's probably the lineup tomorrow.
Sure. Absolutely. Ash, thoughts on the
So,
lineup,
Sam,
mate?
what are you saying then? Who comes out? Because I'm trying to picture it. If you've got Paulinho in the midfield,
With
Bentancur,
Bentancur and then
I'd have
Sarr in the
played.
10.
No, I would have played. I would have wanted to. I would have been okay with that, but I would have, if we were going with a 10, then I would have wanted to play Kudus there and take out Bentancur, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's difficult because
I don't
if
agree.
you've only got two midfielders,
Kudus in the 10. I don't think we should experiment. I think Kudus is doing unbelievably on the right. I'd have him on the right.
but he's not. He'd be playing up front. He'd
Yeah,
still
but
have the sort of freedom to go wherever.
I know what you're saying. Based on this formation 5-3-2, sorry, to clear it up, I'd probably do similar to PSG. I'd put the 5. I'd then put the 2 in front of Bentancur and Paulinho. I'd then have almost Kudus on the right as well. I guess you could call it right striker, I guess, with Richarlison up top. Ash, what are you saying? Is that how you're picturing it or not?
Yeah, I think we're going to do the PSG thing, if I'm being totally honest. I
Yeah.
think Bergvall will drop out for Paulinho, only because I see them trying to match Man City in possession. Because in possession, I think City will do a 2-3-5. And so if they're doing a 2-3-5, you kind of need the 5 defenders. Do you know what I mean? To match them up. I think where we're going to have, you might struggle is Reinders, where Reinders is part of the 5. What he will do is he might rotate with Rico Lewis, because Rico Lewis will do the 6th man run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let's have a look at Cities, mate, because I've got that one up as well.
Nice one. So what I'm saying is, so we've got the front 3 there, but then Nico Gonzalez will sit back and Rico Lewis will join him in a 2. And I think what will happen is you'll have Reinders and Silva. They will join the front 3 to make a 5. But Nuri as well, he will invert. So it will be 3 midfielders, if that makes sense, to make a 2-3-5.
Yeah.
You see that? If Rico inverts and Nuri inverts, I think that's where they're going to compact to make a box midfield. And then what Reinders does, he doesn't stay on the left. Sometimes he will drop into the right, and Silva will do the same. He will swap over, but they're all technical and they're all good with the ball, which scares me personally. And so Paulinho and Bentancur are going to have elite communication, because when these players do decide to change over and they want to be so fluid, that's when the danger arises, because we're going to be narrow, we're going to be compact, and we're going to try and block up that midfield area and force them out wide and then defend the box. So I did see like the training video where you saw all the players, they were kind of defending the box, getting headers on. And then I saw it the other way around where we were doing set pieces and they were attacking the goal as well. I saw Bentancur jumping for headers. I saw Paulinho and I saw Richarlison jumping for headers. There was quite a few. Even Vuskovic, which is interesting because he hasn't been put out alone. And we've only got, 9 or 8 days left. So it'll be interesting to see if we do load him out last minute. So that's what I did see in the training videos. But yeah, but going back to the the tactics, right. I think the space to hit when they do the 2-3-5 would be like when I watched the Wolves game, they were penetrating that right-hand side. They were going over the top. And what City are trying to do, because they got Pep Lijnders, who used to be the coach of
Liverpool,
yeah. So they like to do the high line, right? But it's similar to what Ange does. Do you know what I mean? In terms of risk profile. So you can attack the flanks, you can get at them. The difference between obviously Ange and Pep is that City actually have the quality, whereas we never had the quality and we had the injuries, but we were still trying to do the same thing. So I think the best route is if we go either down either flank, and I think it's going to be more likely to be Kudus' flank because that's where he's really safe in possession. He's able to carry the ball. And I think between those kind of players, him and Richarlison, they're going to be able to attack that right flank and get down those sides, in my opinion.
100%, mate. No, I completely agree. There is opportunities to exploit them on the counter, as we know we've done many times at the Etihad. Hit them on the counter, they're going to have most of the ball. I think you're right. They've got so many good players with the ball there. Reinders, Nico. Good comment here from Abdul Rahman, and one I was going to mention. Does Rodri play a part? Maybe not starting, but will he maybe play a part? Frank, what do you reckon?
Ultimately, depends on how fit he is. I mean, he played, I think, a little bit in the Club World Cup, didn't he? And then he was meant to be out until September, and then Pep obviously said today that he's going to be available. I'd be staggered if he starts, because I don't think he'll play a major part. No, because I think they'll try and keep him a little bit protected, because obviously he's come off the back of a nasty injury. So I think they'll try and keep him protected.
Absolutely, mate. Apparently it's Waddle in the Chelsea West Ham game.
Yeah.
João Pedro's has scored again.
Yeah,
He's on fire, isn't he? Really, he might be worth getting in your fantasy team, guys. Talking of fantasy football, actually, you got him in your fantasy team.
Yeah, I was that close to bringing in Wood, and I said no. Pause. Let me just keep with Pedro. You know what I'm saying? And
good decision, mate. Good decision. Guys, one thing a lot of you guys play fantasy football watching now. We do have a fantasy football league. If you're in it, you'll see that it's called the Spurs-related Cup. Nice and imaginative from me, really creative. But if you do want to join the Spurs-related fantasy football league, put a little one in the comments, and I'll get the link in the chat for you guys. If you want to join it, it's not too late to join. Sam, final concluding thoughts on the game tomorrow.
2-1 West Ham.
Krug. Oh, what a game that is. We're missing out on a thriller. No wonder the numbers have dropped slightly. But before we do wrap things up, we're not wrapping things up just yet. We will do in a bit. Sam, thoughts on... Sam's watching the game, you can tell. Thoughts... just quickly, mate. Thoughts. Just give me a little score prediction and your thoughts on what we've just said there about, City keeping the ball, City having most of possession, but Spurs potentially going to be able to exploit, maybe with Kudus and quick players, those sides that Ash was talking about. What do you think, mate?
Well, if I look at it on feeling alone, look at it holistically. Frank, what people always credited Frank with was going to the big boys and being very difficult to play.
Yeah.
So I know that whatever the formation is, whoever starts, whoever comes on, it will be difficult for City. I still think that they'll probably beat us.
So negative, Sam. So negative. What, with all the wins at the Etihad, you're going for a loss?
I just think that, I don't know. I don't think we're quite ready yet, and I was a little bit concerned playing Burnley that we did concede a decent amount of chances, and Man City are not Burnley. So I think that we will concede, and I will say, James, I did call that Paris Saint-Germain game. Call it perfectly as well.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you off. Maybe. The goal got disallowed, by the way. Sorry, I know it's Spurs related, not West Ham related, but 1-1 still.
Gutting. I like Fulkrug as well. So he's quite something about him is very endearing. I think it's the fact that he's not got a tooth. One of his teeth is missing. He seems like an everyman, a man of the people. But yeah, I think that it'll be a close game. I just think that ultimately they will probably have the firepower to beat us. We just haven't quite got enough, I think, to seriously compete in the game. But I think that it will probably end up being quite a tight game, and we'll concede towards the end, and then people will be saying, "Oh no, it's happening again. We're conceding late in games." But I think that we're close to getting there. We just need a bit of time, and we need some bloody players, man.
We need some players. That's the big one.
You know what? I kind of agree with Sam. Not to be double negative, but I think it might be a blessing in disguise, because after that, Spurs dropped the money for Savinho because of the, they don't
want us to get battered. You want us to get battered just so Daniel Levy.
No. I don't want to get battered. I'm just saying. I'm calling it what I think will happen. Do you understand? So, if we are to win, great news. But I feel like it won't be a battering. I don't think it'll be a battering, number one. So let me just put that out there. I think.
What do you think? Frank, score prediction.
I'm gonna go for 2-1.
Okay, guys, put your score prediction in the chat. I want Ash to finish. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, mate.
Oh, yeah, no. I thought you were asking me. So I'm going for a 2-1.
2-1, yeah.
And then I think that's what will accelerate the Savinho deal, and we'll get it done, and they will announce it Do you know what I'm saying? Pretty
Yeah.
much. Like maybe not the same day, but like the Sunday or the Monday, it'll be announced, because I think they're going there to do the talks anyway, and they can't have another PR disaster. They can't afford another failure. So I think, yeah, that kind of helps get it through the door. That's just my opinion. Yeah,
no, 100%, mate. Surely Savino is definitely not playing a part? 'Cause you know, it would be the most Tottenham thing for him to play a part and score. Can you imagine that? He can't. Can he play? He surely can still play, can't he? Probably,
he can play.
Throw him on.
He can play. Imagine he scored and they're like, "Oh, we're keeping him." That would be
No, the worst thing would
need
be
any
that he
more
gets
hurt.
injured, man. He gets injured in the game, and that we're like close to agreeing a deal with him.
Yeah. Score predictions in the chat though. We've got Jack saying 3-0 to the Spurs. COYS. Love the positivity. A1's gone a bit more, I say pessimistic. 2-2. I'd take a 2-2 draw, I reckon. Sam's gone 3-2. Is this City, Sam?
3-2 City, yeah.
Yeah, negative Nancy. Abdul Rahman saying 3-1 Spurs. I'm going 3-1 Spurs. I just got a feeling, something in the waters. Christopher Inshaw saying 4-0 like last year. Love that, Chris. Love that. And Peter saying Eze to score versus Spurs. Book it. Peter, what are you doing? Sound like that guy from, what's that show? Peter, what are you doing? Anyway, waffling on. Frank and Sam, what's your score prediction? Who's going first?
Go on, Sam, you go.
No, Sam's gone. Sorry, 3-2. 3-2. Ash has gone. What have you gone, Ash? 2-1 Spurs. Frank, what are you going?
I said 3-1 Spurs the other day, so I think I'll stick with that. But yeah, I'm maybe not as confident as some of the comments and the 4-0s going on. But I think we tend to do all right there, and I like the back five. It gives me confidence. I thought we were good against PSG. If we play to a similar level to the PSG game, I think we'll beat them.
Okay,
so
interesting. Interesting, guys.
You know what, though? This might be the first City derby. Sorry to cut you.
Go on.
We don't have a Son.
Very or Kane.
Or Kulusevski.
Or Kulu.
Or Madison. Yeah.
Kind
of a negative in there. Pedro Neto just scored 2-1 Chelsea.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I going to say? Final bit I wanted to bring up, very final bit. It's an interesting bit. It's from the Sun. We don't really like the Sun, I'll be honest. Kevin Danzo is apparently learning Spanish to improve his communication with Christian Romero. I'm trying to learn Spanish, and if you speak the language, then it's easier to communicate in that language and give them a better understanding of what's going on. I'm just learning from being around the Spanish speakers, listening to their conversations. This is how I learned French. Sometimes they'll say stuff to me in Spanish, and I'll just try to figure out what it means. Romero's an amazing guy, and in the dressing room, he's really calm and easygoing. But on the pitch is where you see that warrior side. So if you get to see him stuck in the middle of sorry, I can't even read. But on the pitch is where you see that warrior side. So if you see him get stuck into a tackle, it gives you the confidence. I love that. And as a defender, sometimes you need that aggression. That's a leading trait. And if you think back to the old centre-backs, the John Terrys and the Vidiches, why does he have to drop John Terry in there? Come on, Danzo, you're better than that. But no, I thought that was interesting. Guys, if you're watching on repeat, make sure you're smashing the like. If you're still in the stream, smash the like. We're not going off yet because we've got a couple of plugs to do. I hope the 100 or so of you across Facebook and YouTube will do me a massive favour and go and check out these great channels and Twitter feeds, which will massively help me out. Ash, been a pleasure to have you on the channel, mate. As you said, one of your first. Where can people find you, mate, and what's coming up on Spurs Kings TV?
Yeah, as I said at the start, glad to bust my V-Reg, on the show. But yeah, hopefully it won't be the last. Hopefully I'll get a little call up again. I'm ready, Gaffer. Got the armband ready, So yeah, but big up to the chat as always, man. I love the comments coming in thick and fast. Too many innuendos right now. But yeah, listen, Spurs Kings TV, you know where it's at. Every Tuesday we're there. We don't do too many shows, but when we do our thing, man. We try to deep dive into players, tactics, or we just have massive debates. It's just one of those things, man. But yeah, big up to the lads. Up the Spurs. COYS every day and every time.
Love it, Ash. Been brilliant having you on, mate. Really appreciate you coming on, guys. Get over to Spurs Kings TV for me. And Ash is a a very familiar face in the Spurs community. A lot of the time, he's alongside Ricky Sacks on Last Word on Spurs. So get over to the Spurs Kings TV, check out their content. Great content over there, great guys, and yeah, please do show some love. And Sam, where can people find you having a little rant about Spurs, a little negative about 3-2? I'm joking, mate. Where can people find you, mate?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Ash, pleasure. Thomas Frank's AI son, also a pleasure. It's very difficult sometimes when people just say Frank and you're thinking, hang on a minute, I've got to think about this for a second. But yeah, I mean, I also not like with Spurs Kings TV, you never big up rivals enough, Ash. You never big it up enough. I feel I didn't have it in me to watch it on Wednesday night when that was all exploding. But it is definitely one of the best shows.
It was hell.
Yeah. If you like screaming men yelling at each other, rival fans, then it's definitely the one. But onto myself, I've been asked recently to go onto another channel as a more regular panel. I don't want to say it yet in case it falls through, but I think it'll be fine. So that will be exciting. Obviously, you can find me here. You can find me regularly on the Irish Hotspur, and then yeah, you can find me picking fights recently on Twitter. So other than that, I'd just be floating around.
There you go. Bit of a number 10, bit here, there, and everywhere, Sam. So yeah, we'll see what show that is, and yeah, obviously Irish Hotspur as well. But yeah, go and check out Sam's Twitter. Guys, that is about all we have time for today. Actually, wait, hang on. I haven't plugged Frank's one as well. Frank, where can people find you other than obviously, of course, here regularly? What else can people find you on, mate? Because I know you're trying to build up your own one.
Yeah, so both at THFC_Frank, I imagine it will go in the chat in a moment, on both TikTok and I mean that's been going for a couple of years now. Got up to a decent, quite a big following on there, and then that got taken down, the copyright, thankfully. So so yeah, that's on the way back up again. And then the YouTube channel, there's nothing on there as of right now, but across the season, I'm going to try and get some more sort of analysis bits up, reactions to games bits. So it's pretty much quite similar to here. So yeah.
Love it, mate. Get over to Frank's channel as well, guys. For the people still watching, please do help out these great channels. You know, don't just come and here and watch this. Go over to other channels. Go and help the community. I'm all about that. So please do smash subscribe, smash like on Spurs Kings TV. Go and follow Sam on Spurs Undercover on Twitter. And go and subscribe to Frank's new channel down below. Let's get him up to 250 subs if we can. We're on the march to 40K. I'd love to be on 40K. We're on the march to 4K. We're about 70 off. So if you're watching on repeat, make sure you're hitting subscribe. We will be live again after the Manchester City game tomorrow. So make sure you tune in live at about 2:30, where Frank and I will be reacting alongside other people that want to come and join us. Like, subscribe, all that great stuff. And remember, as always, come on, you Spurs! Come on, get some signings done and smash